I love using Comfrey in my homemade medicines and for fertilizer for my garden. I'm going to show you how to harvest the leaves, dry them, and give you some tips and tricks for how to use it. You need a basket to hold the comfrey that you are collecting, and you will also need a good pair of shears. I'm actually just using my really sharp kitchen scissors for this. I would also recommend gloves. This is one of those do as I say, not as I do moments. This always makes my skin so irritated, so it's really best if you use gloves. Then you simply want to come down to the base of the plant and trim the stems. Now try to leave 2 to 4 inches on the plant, and that should be good for regrowth. On the leaves, it doesn't really matter. If you have a young plant, you probably won't have very much stem, so in that case, you're going to cut it fairly close to the base of the leaf, but you want to leave a little bit on there if you're going to be hanging them dry. If you're going to use the dehydrator, then you could just cut it right off at the base of the leaf, no problem. And you'll want to trim all the way around the edges of the bush. Now, some places will tell you leave one little leaf, and some places will tell you never take more than 1/3 or 1/4 of a plant. Comfrey is very resilient. It definitely can handle the harvest until there's only one leaf method. There was actually a time I tried the method where you just leave one leaf, and so I'd cut everything else down, but I didn't realize that the last leaf I left, I had already cut. It was just standing up in the other leaves, and so I ended up chopping the entire plant down. But the plant came back. That is a testament to how strong comfrey is and how resilient it is, but it can stress the plant. And so I like to leave a little bit more than just a singular leaf. And besides, having just one leaf, it's really easy for someone to bump it or step on it and it just break off. Now, leaving just a few spare leaves also makes the plant look funny. So if you want it to still look good, simply take the outside edges and leave the center so that it can grow back full and bushy, kind of like what you see right here. So we've trimmed the outside edges entirely and we've left the center, and now it can continue to grow and those leaves can continue to get bigger and it still looks like a bush. Now, as you're harvesting, it's a good idea to make 2 separate piles. I like to have a pile that I just put off to the side of the leaves that are yellow, they're spent, they're old. Those are the leaves I'm going to use to turn into fertilizer and mulch for the garden. And then I'll make a separate pile with the healthier leaves, the ones that are still fully green and they're lively. Those are the ones I'm going to use in my medicines and bring into my kitchen. And if you want to see those videos where I am turning comfrey into medicine or where I am turning comfrey into fertilizer, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss those videos. The next thing you do is simply bring it into the kitchen and rinse it off. Now, a lot of times a quick rinse is just fine, and sometimes dirt has a tendency to get caught in the hairs along the stem and right down the center of the leaf. So I like to run my fingernail down the middle there just to make sure all that dirt is cleared out. Then you want to let the leaves dry. Now, in order to hang them dry or to put them in the dehydrator, I want to get rid of the extra moisture that I just put on the leaves. So I will just pat them dry on a towel before I put them in the dehydrator or hang them up. Now, if you're using a dehydrator, I have a really large dehydrator, so I simply cut off the stems to make them fit onto these sheets. And then I put that into the dehydrator. If these are too big, because comfrey leaves can get pretty big, make sure that you just trim the leaves to the size that will fit in your dehydrator. I'll put mine in for about 24 hours on about 100-degree setting. If I am hanging them up, I'll use a piece of jute twine. This one's about 12, 14 inches long-ish. And I'll put a grouping of about 5 to 7 leaves. Then I wrap the twine around it. I like to go around once and then a second time and tie a square knot nice and tight. Now, comfrey is full of water content, and as it dries, it will shrink. And so having it wrapped twice actually helps it to stay in its wrapping longer. Then you can take the extra string and tie it around a rope or tape it to the wall. In my case, I'm going to tie a loop knot so that I can make an extra loop to go around a nail, because I have dedicated beams where I hang these from. Now, after about a week or two, these will be dry and ready to pull down, and then you can put them in storage. I like to put mine in clear containers or glass jars until I'm ready to use them, and then I make sure that I label it with what's in it and the year. And when it's time to use it, I turn these into oils and salves and all kinds of wonderful medicinal things for my family. I've got videos for you right here and down in the description on how you can make your own comfrey oil and how to make your own salves and balms at home. Now you might be wondering, what about that pile that we left out in the garden? I like to use that for a few different things. One is chop and drop mulch. You can literally take these leaves and cut them up with your scissors and leave them in the garden. And then as it rains or snows, it's going to turn those leaves into wonderful fertilizer for your plants. I also like to use it as a weed block in different areas where I'm trying to keep the weeds down. At the base of my trees, that's also nice because it keeps the weeds away, but it also adds some nourishment to the soil. Or I like to turn this into compost tea, which is a stronger fertilizer for my plants. And I'm going to be doing a video on that soon. If you want to see that, subscribe so you don't miss it. And if you're ready to learn how to make your own salves and balms at home right now, you're going to want to watch this video next. And I'll see you on the next Desert Forest Garden adventure. Thanks for watching.